All right, let's jump right in. A new federal survey just came out, and, well, it's painting a really complicated picture of substance use in America. We're seeing some genuinely good news, but there are also some trends that are raising a lot of eyebrows. So we're going to unpack it all in this explainer. And right off the bat, here's the central conflict in the whole report. You've got Americans binge drinking less, which is great, but at the exact same time, marijuana use is climbing a lot. It's this push and pull, this whole shifting landscape of our habits that makes this year's data so interesting. So let's talk about these changing habits. All of this information comes from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. You'll hear it called NSDUH. It's an annual report, and it really gives us one of the best snapshots we can get of the country's substance use and mental health. You know what's interesting is how the report frames itself. It kind of kicks off on a hopeful note, focusing on the good news first. And look, there is good news, for sure. But as you'll see, that is definitely not the whole story. Okay, so let's get into decoding the data. Before we dig into the specific ups and downs, I think it's really important to get a handle on the sheer scale of what we're talking about here.
So here's the headline number, 48.4 million people. To put that into perspective for you, that's about 1 in every 6 Americans over the age of 12. 1 in 6 met the criteria for a substance use disorder just in the last year. It's a staggering number that shows you just how common this is.
So you hear that term, substance use disorder, and you might wonder what it actually means. It's important to know it's not exactly the same thing as addiction. It's more of a pattern of harmful use, like maybe you find it hard to cut back, or you keep using something even when you know it's causing real problems in your life. And if we break down those massive numbers, you can see alcohol use disorder is still by far the most common. But look what's in second place, marijuana. Then that's followed by opioids. This gives us a really clear picture of the substance landscape in the US right now. All right, now for the heart of the report, where you really see these clashing trends play out. I mean, there is some genuinely fantastic news in here, but it's sitting right next to data that is, frankly, pretty concerning. So let's start with the most significant piece of good news. This is a big deal. For the first time in years, the number of people dying from drug overdoses has dropped. And not just by a little, it's fallen dramatically. I mean, just look at this. In the most recent 12-month period, we saw an estimated 78,000 overdose deaths. Now, that's still a horribly tragic number, but it is a huge drop from the peak, when we were losing over 110,000 people a year. This is a monumental shift. It's a real reason to feel some hope. But just as that good news sinks in, the survey makes you ask, is that really the whole story? Because from here on out, the data gets a lot more complicated. And here's the first big complication. At the same time that alcohol issues were going down, the survey found a pretty sharp increase in the number of people struggling with their marijuana use. The rate of marijuana use disorder literally jumped from 6% of the population to 7.1% in just 1 year. That might not sound like a huge jump, but it translates to nearly 21 million Americans. So yeah, we're making progress in one area, but a pretty significant new challenge is popping up in another. Okay, now this next piece of data, this might be the most puzzling thing in the entire report. It's a total head-scratcher for public health experts, especially when you think about that huge drop in overdose deaths we just talked about. It's all about who is and who isn't getting treatment. Get this. Only 17%, 1/7, of people with an opioid use disorder got medications like methadone or buprenorphine. These are treatments that are proven to slash the risk of an overdose. But what's totally baffling is that this number actually went down from 18%. It went down even as the federal government was making it easier than ever for doctors to prescribe these life-saving drugs. It just doesn't add up. So after all that, what is the bottom line? What are the key things we should really take away from this really complex, sometimes contradictory report? Let's just boil it down. We have real, amazing progress. Overdose deaths are way down, and fewer people are struggling with alcohol. That's the good news. But at the same time, marijuana use disorder is on a sharp rise. And, bafflingly, fewer people with opioid use disorder are getting the very medicine that could save their lives. It's a total mixed bag. And we have to end on a really critical footnote here. This information, this vital data we've been talking about, it's the very first report to come out since the Department of Health and Human Services laid off nearly the entire federal staff that produces it. In fact, if you look at the opening pages of the report, it actually credits the very people who lost their jobs. And so that leaves us with this final kind of lingering question. This year's report shows a country where substance use habits are shifting, and shifting fast. So as we move into the future, with fewer federal experts on the job to track all these complex changes, you just have to wonder, what crucial trends are we going to miss next?